What is up, gang? I'm Kurt Benkert, and we are back with another Monday morning quarterback episode. Week 1 of the NFL is almost over. We've got action tonight. We've got the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, but week 1 of the NFL did not disappoint. We have a bunch of things to talk about. Obviously, a bunch of really good performances, some weak performances, the epic Ravens collapse that we watched happen last night. We will be covering at the top of the show. But man, it was an action-packed week 1. I think there were a lot of surprises. There were some teams that we thought would perform really well that just really didn't show any dominance. But again, week 1, it's never, in my opinion, right to overreact to week 1. However, there are some red flags and some green flags that we'll be talking about the entire time. So let's get this thing started. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens last night against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I actually just got done I just finished about an hour and a half long recording on the entire film, start to finish, every single play, both sides of the ball. And I think the media in general is really giving a lot of credit to the Bills and not talking about the Ravens as much. Obviously, some people are talking about the Ravens collapse and how they kind of faltered down the stretch. Harbaugh is being brought up, all this and that. But really what it came down to was at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, when the Ravens were up by 15, they acted like they were just going to chew clock the rest of the game. They went run, pass, run, pass, run, fumble, set the Bills back up. And then when they had a chance at the very end of the game to seal it, they gave the ball back to Josh Allen instead of keeping the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands on 4th and 2 to see if they could get a first down and end it. A first down in that situation when they only need 2 yards ends the game. The Bills never get the ball back. They never get a chance. But instead, they punt it back to the Bills, and all they need is to get into field goal range. But this play right here, this was a 4th and 2, and the Bills had to get lucky. Like, they had to get lucky. A tipped pass, overthrown, tipped right into Keon Coleman's hands. Like, the Bills had every last thing go right at the end of the game to get back into the game. But equally, the Ravens didn't put themselves in a position to win the game down the stretch when they could have. And I don't want to take away either that Josh Allen had a really good performance. He threw for almost 400 yards. He threw the ball 46 times, which is a ton, but he had 30 rushing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, I believe. He had the rushing, was it 2 passing, 2 rushing? Something like that. No interceptions, but what I will say when you go back and watch the film, the Ravens had their opportunities. Josh Allen threw 3 interceptable footballs that were dropped. 2 of them were dropped. 1 of them was a breakup, and the Ravens just did not take advantage of the opportunities that they were given. And on the flip side, they kept giving opportunity after opportunity to the Bills. And when you look at even just like the end of the game, if you guys want to go on Twitter and check out one of the breakdowns that I just did, let's talk about the middle of the game here. The Bills got the ball back with 25 seconds left, no timeouts, okay? They got into field goal range because the Ravens let up a chunk, let them spike it. Then they had 8 seconds left to get one more chunk. They let, I think it was either Kincaid or Knox, catch a deep in right into field goal range with 1 second left and get out of bounds. And they were in a defense where they did not rush a soul. Not one single Ravens defender rushed on that play, and they didn't even protect the sidelines the right way. If they tackled somebody in bounds, half is over. But they got 3 points at the end of the half that the Ravens just gifted them. Well, they had no timeouts from the 25-yard line. And the Ravens just found a way to keep giving the Bills a chance. And that is why they won with 1.1% chance when trailing in the fourth quarter, because the Ravens' incompetencies allowed for the Bills just won't quit mentality. And that's kind of who Buffalo is. Like, they were not the more talented team last night. They were the grittier team, the better coach team, and they had Josh Allen who refused to lose. And his guys stepped up and made plays when they needed to. Guys like Cook, who took a screen that he broke 2 tackles, like 50-some yards to get to the 1-yard line. But the Ravens, man, it was gross. They collapsed. And at the end of the day, the worst part about it was when Harbaugh went to his presser, in my opinion, and he just said, yeah, we'll be fine. Tough team, tough environment. Didn't even address anything. Like, he did not address any of the blunders that they had from their coaching staff. And there wasn't really any accountability. But we've got to talk about the rookie report card. Let's go and flip the switch. Also, I saw some of the chat. Will Johnson, dog, saw the rise of the Colts. Dude, the Dolphins looked terrible. The Dolphins would not want to be a Dolphins fan today. I'll tell you that much. Saw the bolt up. Let's get it. The Chargers looked like a dominant force. I thought that the Broncos were going to look like the best team in the division, and they looked pretty pedestrian yesterday, even though they won. But let's go talk about the rookie report card, okay? We've got 3 guys that, in my opinion, top of the list, kind of stood out. We had also had Will Johnson, honorable mention. I thought he actually could have been on there as well. Nice for you guys to bring him up. But let's talk about Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward got a B. Cam Ward could have got an A minus, in my opinion, if his team stepped up around him. So many drop passes, so many penalties, just like really, really gross. But Cam Ward went into a hostile environment, led his team to a bunch of points, kept on getting them into field goal range against one of the best defenses in the league in the Broncos in his first ever start on the road. His stats were not great. Got sacked a bunch of times. Like I'm telling you guys, Cam Ward, if they can actually build around him in Tennessee, he showed me plenty on film that shows that he can be the guy. But he also showed, in my opinion, why no quarterback is immune to a bad situation. If you take Lamar Jackson and put him on the Titans, Titans still aren't great. If you take Josh Allen and put him on the Titans, Titans still aren't great. You cannot get people to catch it if you throw it to them. You cannot get people to block if they're not going to block it up. Like there are some situations in the NFL that are not the same as others. So Cam Ward, I want to give him his flowers because even though the stats didn't show it, I saw plenty on film that showed that he is going to be the guy of the future, assuming they're going to build around him. Let's talk about Emeka Egbuka. Dog, A, could have been A+, consistently open, consistently making contested catches, being friendly to the quarterback, showed up in big plays. He looked like a home run hit as a draft pick in the middle of the first round, and I loved what he was able to do on Sunday. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 67 yards, 16.8 per reception and 2 tugs. Gonna probably be a guy that wins people their fantasy leagues, especially with Chris Godwin probably going to be taking some time to get back in the lineup. And not to mention when you play like this, you're not going to be taken out of the lineup. You're now an asset. Congratulations, Bucks. You hit on a first-round draft pick. Let's also talk about Ashton Jeanty, who played against a pretty tough Patriots defensive front. Defense that honestly on paper is pretty solid, but Ashton Jeanty did his thing, man. He had some big runs. He had some nice solid runs, was able to get in the box, I believe. But in general, the Raiders surprised me. The Raiders showed grit. They showed that they could be a team that gets it done downfield. He had a rushing touchdown. He didn't have great like yards per carry, but I think we saw enough against a really good defense that Ashton Jeanty could be a guy. So my top 3 rookies, and there are a lot of other guys I could have talked about. Tyler Warren, who I thought did great. I thought that Will Johnson had a great first outing, but as the 3 guys I wanted to talk about today, let's talk about Cam Ward gets a B. Emeka Egbuka gets an A. He was a dog. Ashton Jeanty, stats don't reflect it, but I thought he had a good performance. Give me a B+. These guys showed up for their teams. And again, every situation's different, but I want to give an honorable mention to Will Johnson. I want to give an honorable mention to Tyler Warren too. Tyler Warren just made plays all over the place, but those are my guys. Now, let's talk about the strongest performers. And I'm going to be very quarterback heavy on this because we're talking about Monday morning quarterbacks. Okay. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers as a massive performance coming back against his former team. Absolutely incredible. I loved seeing what Aaron Rodgers did. I loved how efficient he was with the ball. I loved how he overcame sacks and bad protection from time to time. I love how he had his play actions going. Aaron Rodgers was dialed in. 4 touchdowns all over the place. Doing it from the pocket, doing it on the run, dialed in. And he, again, protected the football. This is what you're going to get with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. You're going to get a guy that makes the throws in critical situations, is accurate in the pocket, outside of the pocket, and will continually get his team in good situations. And at the end of the day, the only thing that Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, was missing last year, look, another one on the run, that is a tough pass to make. Aaron Rodgers was missing a special teams that could hit field goals. And he had 22 of 30, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 244 yards passing. And the best part of it was he got them into field goal range to win the game with Chris Boswell banging a 60-yard field goal that Aaron Rodgers has never seen. He has not seen that consistent of field goal play, and we talked about it before the season started. Aaron Rodgers' efficiency play matched with the Steelers' defense that will get better as the season goes. Not to mention, shout out to the Jets, though. Justin Fields played really well. Tough to stop. They have a formula for winning, and he got to beat everyone associated with the Jets. So I love that Aaron Rodgers was able to go out and do it. But we've got to talk about another quarterback that I used to back up. I used to back up Aaron Rodgers. Now we're going to talk about Jordan Love. I was the 3rd-string quarterback with the Packers when Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love were both there. And I got to see Love's development in real time behind the scenes. And I love seeing what he is doing in games right now. Jordan Love led the Packers in a very efficient way. 16 of 22, 188 through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he didn't really have to do a whole lot in the 4th quarter. This came in like the bulk of the beginning part of the game. but he was efficient. He made the big throws. He did really well on third down, and he gave his guys chances. And not to mention, his guys started making contested catches. We saw the throw that he had to Tucker Kraft across the middle of the field on the kind of the seam bender that he hit behind the linebacker's ear before the safety. Jordan Love was dialed in. And even though he misses some throws here and there, more often than not, he's delivering seeds. And when you keep him upright and establish the run in some capacity, they've got a good formula. Not to mention their defense. The Packers look like they might have the best defense they've had in maybe over 20 years. And they've had some decent defenses over the stretch, but most of the time they've had weak defenses. The fact that the Packers can match an efficient Jordan Love offense with their defense makes them really tough to stop, in my opinion. But we got to get to another strong performance. And even though they lost, I want to give Michael Penix Jr. his flowers because he came out fighting and was the only reason why the Falcons were in that game down the stretch. 2 outstretched rushes. Also, people want to say he's not a scrambler. He had 1 scramble for a touchdown, outstretched like Michael Jordan in Space Jam. Then he had 1 on 4th down where he had outstretch again, got them to the 4th and 1, or got them to 1st and goal from the 1. Michael Penix Jr. was really fun to watch. He slung it all around the yard, and he's only going to get better as a passer. Threw for nearly 300, only had 1 touchdown through the air, had another one on the ground. He was efficient. His guys made plays for him. I just think that the Falcons got themselves a guy. And if Younghoe Koo hits a chip shot field goal to send them to overtime, who knows? We might be talking about the Falcons differently this morning, but he led them down with no time left, got them in the field goal range, and they missed it. And sometimes you have field goal kickers that can hit field goals. Some of you have them that can't. You had the Bills last night who hit a game winner from short. You had the Steelers who hit a game winner from 60. And then you have the Falcons who miss one from the 40s. Like, it just happens. And I still love Penix's performance. So that's what I think about him. But we've had a bunch of really good performances, and we got one more to talk about. Let's talk about Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert looked like a top 3 quarterback in the league. Like, no lie, looked like he could make every throw on the field, could make every run that he needed to. He was dialed in, and the ball absolutely teleported out of his hands from point A to point B with insane accuracy. And if he plays like this all year long, he will be in MVP considerations. I would not be shocked to see Justin Herbert in top 3 of the MVP polls, him, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen fighting for it towards the end of the year. Because if we see this every week, 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, we're going to see 5,100 yards of passing in an NFL season and a whole lot of touchdowns. And I loved what I saw about Justin Herbert. I loved how he made the plays, and they were all different varieties. Some they were over the top, some they were scrambles, some they were having to layer things. He showed that he can win from every aspect of playing the game, and I absolutely loved it. And those are my strongest performers. We have Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, Michael Penix Jr., and Justin Herbert as 4 of my favorite quarterbacks coming out of week 1. But now we got to talk about the weakest links, and we're going to hold nothing back because the Detroit Lions looked suspect. Their offense looked abysmal. Jared Goff looked lost. Their run game was non-existent, and their defense really couldn't stop what Jordan Love was doing. But I really want to talk about the fact that they lost Ben Johnson. Their play calling looked abysmal. They don't really have many different players on offense. And Jared Goff, when you get him off the spot, he looked like not a great quarterback, okay? And we know that the whole theme with Jared Goff is if he's upright and things are on time, he's accurate and he can deliver. But what happens when they get a little uncomfortable and the pressure gets to him? He can't make plays off platform. He can't make plays off balance. He's not really a scramble guy at all. And the Lions look like they have a little bit of kryptonite to them when they have to play the Packers defense who can get pressure and stop the run. We saw Jared Goff have to check it down to Jahmyr Gibbs, 10 plus times, something like that. It was crazy. They looked lost, and I think that the Lions have red flags right now, and teams know how to beat them, but you've got to have a D-line that can cause havoc and make Jared Goff uncomfortable, which, when you look across the league, there's some teams they have on that schedule that are going to be pretty tough, so we'll be seeing how it shakes out for him. Now, we've got to talk about Bo Nix, a guy who I'm pretty high on. I think he had a really bad game. I think he tried to do too much. I think for whatever reason, he thought he'd just show up and the Titans would just be easy to beat. The Titans have a good defense. The Titans had a good defense. Last year, they have a good defense. This year, and not to mention, the Titans lost a bunch of games last year because of Will Levis doing weird Will Levis things. There's no Will Levis this year. It's Cam Ward, and Cam Ward was pretty much dialed in all game long. And he was not making the crazy mistakes that swung things and got games uncomfortable. So Bo Nix tried to make too much happen. 25 of 40, fine. Hit a few interceptions, had a fumble that he had off a sack. Only 1 touchdown, which was a nice play by Cortland Sutton. But Bo Nix has got to settle down and dial it in if the Broncos are going to be who they want to be this year. Luckily, they have a defense that's going to be top 5 in the league, but Bo Nix or Sean Payton, the marrying of the two, something's got to change, and something's got to just, in my opinion, they got to chill out. They've got to find ways to get easier completions. I thought that they just had a game plan where they showed up and they thought they were just going to outman people, and that's not going to happen in this league very often. And that's, in my opinion, why the Ravens lost last night. They thought they could just outman the Bills down the stretch, and they couldn't. So stop trying to outman people. Maybe make it a little bit easier to get the completions. And if the completions aren't there, don't just toss it up for anything to happen, because this is the NFL and those defenders get paid too. And then last but not least, the weakest link in the NFL this year in week 1. Let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Okay. Tua Tagovailoa, in my opinion, looked lost. The Dolphins defense looked lost. The Dolphins offense looked lost. Everything looked lost. And I will say, also going back to the strong performance side, should have probably had Josh Allen in there, but we had a whole section on Josh Allen, so I didn't want to just double dip there. And on the flip side of that, also think that Daniel Jones deserved some sort of flowers, even though the Dolphins were so bad. But let's talk about Tua. 2 interceptions. He just looked terrible, honestly. He looked like not like an NFL quarterback, okay? And Tua has not looked good in a while, and he also got paid, $55 million a year. He never for once has looked like a $55 million quarterback this season. Hasn't looked like it in a while. And I just think sometimes you have to admit that you made a mistake. And it's just tough, man. I don't know why. Maybe people don't talk about the Dolphins enough because they're not really like a main media entity to be talked about, but the Dolphins have some serious issues. And the fact that they have so much cap going to Tua, and he's a guy that is very much like Jared Goff, he needs a bunch of things around him to go well. And even when they were going well, when he did have protection, he's just throwing hand grenades down the middle of the field for interceptions. It is tough. It is really tough. So Tua, I think the Dolphins' whole hot seat, Tua probably should be on the hot seat as quarterback. And it's just tough. But let's go do a recap of the strongest performers. And we're just going to talk about quarterbacks. I think Aaron Rodgers was incredible. I think Jordan Love was incredible. Michael Penix Jr. got him all the way down to the stretch. He was incredible. And they didn't really give him a chance at the end when they missed the field goal. And I really loved what Justin Herbert did. And then I want to give also, even though we talked about these guys already, I want to talk about Lamar Jackson, who I think had a great performance. Josh Allen, MVP, had a great performance with all the opportunities he was given by the Ravens defense. And then last but not least, got to give flowers to Daniel Jones for showing up and shutting up the haters and really putting the Dolphins on the hot seat. All of them, everyone in the organization. And then the weak performances from week 1. I don't want to call out a million people, but these 3 things that I need to talk about. The Detroit Lions, weak. Bo Nix tried to do too much, weak. I'm sure they'll figure it out. But Tua Tagovailoa, really bad performance. Dolphins offense, bad performance. Dolphins defense, bad performance. But even when Tua did have time, he was throwing hand grenades over the middle of the field, doing some things that did not look like a quarterback that's worth $55 million should be doing. That's my recap. The strong performances, the weak performances. We still got one more game to go tonight. We got the Bears and the Vikings. Really excited to see what goes on there. I think that the Vikings have a good scheme. I think they have a good roster, and I think their defense is tough to play against. But something tells me Ben Johnson in a home opener is going to have the Bears humming in a weird way. Reverses, trick plays. Like, I think they're going to be willing to go the distance. And I think that knowing that he's on national television, I think Ben Johnson loves that. And I think that he is going to have the Chicago Bears ready to go. I think he's going to have a bunch of easy completions for Caleb Williams. And I really think that the Bears might get it done tonight. But that's what I got, man. And we got one more thing to talk about. I want to talk about the Chiefs because the Chiefs have been the talk of the NFL for a long time. And they're still going to be the talk of the NFL. But the Chiefs have some really big question marks in the receiver room. Hollywood Brown is now the receiver 1, who I like. But they know Xavier Worthy, no Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce didn't really do a whole lot. He had a touchdown, but wasn't necessarily a difference maker throughout the whole bulk of the game. Just had a good play at the end. Can the Chiefs figure it out? Yeah, they can, but their division is stacked, man. They're not going to have any gimme games. You play the Broncos twice, the Chargers twice. The Raiders are no joke. And now Pat Mahomes has to be a superhero. I don't think that they can do it. I would not be shocked to see the Kansas City Chiefs struggle down the stretch and have to try to make it through a wild card spot because their defense looked bad. Their offense looked not great, like they didn't have enough talent. They were fighting on defense. I just think this is sometimes how it goes when you lose a Super Bowl and you lose guys and everybody wants to get paid, and then you lose some players. It's tough, man. Also, I see chat rolling. Thank you guys so much, one. Hey, also, Jaden Daniels. Everyone knows that I love Jaden Daniels. I love the Commanders. I love Dan Quinn, former coach of mine. He also has my book. Dan Quinn has my book. Think like a quarterback. Pretty cool. I think that the Commanders handled business and the Commanders defense really stepped up. I also want to give a little bit of flowers to the Giants defensive line. They gave them hell all game long, and they did not make it easy for the Commanders. They just kind of got after it down the stretch. They lasted out longer, but the Commanders, man, hey, there's so many good teams in the NFL. There's so many storylines. There's a lot happening, and I will also self brag a little bit. I am now 12-3 in pick'ems this week. I had the Ravens. They obviously blew it at the end. Would have been 13-2. I don't even know what's going to happen next week. I was really confident in this week's picks, but next week's matchup is going to be tough. The next week's slate is going to be tough. I appreciate you guys tuning into this show, man. I appreciate all the chat, all the good vibes you guys are giving. We're going to have these every single Monday all year long. We've got a lot of action, man. I can't wait to watch tonight's game. We've got cool stuff on the way, some film breakdowns, all that good stuff. But I will be seeing you guys next week to talk more ball, and we'll have more context for where this NFL season is heading. I'm Kurt Benkert, and this is another Monday morning quarterback show. I'm out.